Hey, Riddle here. So I wanted to talk about transgenderism because it's such a hot topic right now. And it's one of the things that a lot of communities are very uncomfortable with. Even the gay community, though they're trying to embrace it, it's still a bit uncomfortable for them because we've lived in this binary social sexuality in America since its inception. And then, of course, going back to Europe, a binary, meaning male-female sexuality following the Bible, was the norm. But what many people don't know is that there have been cultures that embraced non-binary sexuality all over the world and at all different times of humanity. So the idea of homosexuality and or transgenderism is not new. And if you don't believe me and you'd like to do your own research, the first place you may want to start, because everyone has this huge respect usually and almost romanticized for the Native Americans. Native Americans in many of the tribes, non-binary sexuality was not only normal, but it was also revered. Often these transgender people would be put in very high places in the tribe to help make decisions and guide the community. They were called the Berdache, Berdace, I believe, if you want to Google it and look up more. There's also some very good books written on two-spirit people. So the Native Americans believe that non-heterosexual people were the extreme versions of non-binary people, not necessarily bisexual people, had both the heart or the soul of both men and women, thus two spirits. And as a tribe, and during a time that all life was precious, because many more people died back then from very simple things like a common cold or a cut, a basic infection, they could not just discard these people because they were a minority. Another things that Native Americans witnessed was that in nature that there were same-sex activity, same-sex behavior happening amongst many other animal species. And because the Native Americans didn't believe that they were above animals, they believed they were equal to and refer animals to as their cousins, they knew that it was just nature's way. That indeed God didn't create just man and woman, but there are third, fourth, and fifth sexes. And what I mean by this is many people are walking around hermaphroditic, meaning with either ambiguous or both sex organs, and it happens much more often than you believe. I believe it's 1 in every 2,000 births they have to deal with this. But also, some people just have an extra Y or X chromosome. And when you have this extra Y or X chromosome, it pushes you to behave more masculine or feminine. So that being given, if you believe in a God and a creator, who are you to change nature? Who are you to tell these people they have to be a boy or a girl? If God or the creator made you both male and female, or male pushing towards female, then why isn't that your natural propensity? And why, as a society, are we so obsessed with controlling other people and controlling who they love and what they do with their sexuality? Because if you are secure with your own sexuality, at least all the people that I've met in my life that were very secure with whatever sexuality they subscribed to, they really didn't care what other people were doing behind closed doors or who they were loving in life. So, with all the other things that really need to be taken care of in this world, like the environment and our economic situation, do you really think we should be wasting our time trying to control people and tell them what to do with their bodies or who they should love? Now, I'm going to flip this over a little bit because this is something that concerns me, and this is where the video will get kind of private. When I was a child, I was extremely feminine. And I wanted to play with dolls, and I wanted to wear dresses, and of course, grew up in a time that was like a hell no. My parents were blue-collar people and extremely homophobic to the point of violence. And later on, I learned why that was. That's a whole nother story. But the interesting thing is, when I see these kids today, that the parents are watching these children and the children are saying, oh, I'm a boy trapped inside a girl's body or a girl trapped inside a boy's body. And they are allowing them to go on hormones when they start to hit puberty and make this huge physical, irreversible, life-changing decision on what sex they're going to be. And then, of course, having to commit to a lifetime of taking hormones. And I don't think there's studies yet that really show how healthy that is or the long-term effects on that on longevity. It frightens me. It truly frightens me because I think back and I thought, wow, what if I was born now to some super liberal parents like where I live now in Santa Cruz, and they watched my behavior and kind of influenced me, or society influenced me to become a girl. Because I think as an adult now, I would have been really unhappy as a woman, unhappy as a girl. And I'm really happy with just being myself. you know, uh, that being said, sometimes I wonder if I have extra Y or X chromosome here or there. Right now I'm a little tired and I can't remember which is which, because when I'm not working out and super physical and have some extra weight on my body, I do feel more feminine and I do feel vulnerable, which is kind of sad because we live in a really unsafe world that you have to be kind of over violent, over machismo in order to have that wall of safety around you. But all I can tell you is that I'm not sure about when that decision should be made, what sex you are, because I believe that if I would have been born now, I may have been misled and changed my sex, and I would have feel at this age, I would have really regretted that. Now, another thing I want to share with you is that I believe with this non-binary thing and with people becoming more expressive, it's very threatening to people because they see people making choices and living their lives in a way that they are terrified to. Not the people that are doing it, but the people that are judging them. And I was once part of this social experiment, and I'm going to share this with you. And it's going to be very difficult for you to wrap your mind around, but do your best. Without judgment, because I like to share things, as you notice from my videos, from life experience, from my own personal story, because, next to what I believe, statistics and science, I think speaking from your heart and life experience is the best way to approach knowledge and to share with people to help to educate them. So that being said, there is an organization called the Radical Fairies, and the Radical Fairies have locations all over the world. But basically, they're gay men that don't believe in being structured in the normal gay cultural way. They are not afraid of feminizing. But the other thing about the Radical Fairies is that they love nature. They're not city mice, they're country mice. And when all the hippies abandoned this community in Tennessee, the Radical Fairies stayed there. They took it over, and it's been like 30 years, and they have an amazing sanctuary there. And they grow their own food, and they make their own wine, and they make their own clothes, and it is a paradise. It's wonderful, and it's only done through community, and they have these amazing solstice parties 4 times a year, and that's how I got to experience the Radical Fairies. And this is the most important part of what the Radical Fairies brought to my awareness. So when you go there, basically, you can be anything you want to be and do anything you want to do as long as you don't hurt anyone else. Now, when we wake up in the morning, we very carefully and cautiously decide what we're going to wear. And I guarantee you that 99.9% of you dress in a way that is culturally acceptable. And why do we dress the way everyone else dresses? And why do we dress conservatively? And why do we, men especially, hide from color and prints? Because we don't want to be labeled. We don't want to stand out. Because ultimately, there is a fear that you will be rejected from society. And if you're rejected from society, that means you lose your connection, which means you lose your job, which means you lose your friends and family, which means you starve, which means you die. So ultimately, our need to fit in and be accepted that completely controls everything we do, but especially how we physically put our costume on every day, goes back to the fear of rejection and death. But imagine that you were in a sanctuary that you could be and look any way you wanted to when you woke up in the morning. Can you even grasp that? And with safety and with support and almost applause. So when I first got there, all this unconditional love and this freedom, I was just like, whoa, I'm just a little boy from Ohio and this is just tripping my brain out, total overstimulation. So they have a community kitchen, and it's breakfast time. And all of a sudden, this guy walks in, and this dude is probably 6'5" and pushing like over 300 pounds. He's like a Sasquatch with a beard, and it was like Grizzly Adams. But he had on an emerald green prom dress with puffy sleeves, and his nails were painted, and something else that stood out. And he came over and he sat down with me, and he's just having his coffee and breakfast, and we're just having conversation just like you and I are. And I said something to him about what he was wearing, and he says, yeah, I just kind of woke up this morning and felt like this. And it wasn't put on. It wasn't to get attention. It wasn't to shock anybody. He literally just knew that he was in a really safe place and that he could put on this beautiful color, this form, this shape. He could express himself without judgment and without rejection. And it was powerful. It was really powerful to imagine a world, a society that you didn't have to conform, that you didn't have to hide. And it was so powerful and so life-altering emotionally that before you leave the sanctuary, you have to take a couple days to prepare yourself, to reprogram yourself, to reintegrate into the everyday world. So the reason I'm sharing that story with you is that there are so many layers to the issue of non-binary sexuality and transgenderism. Nature, nurture, genetics, and then just personal choice. But even if it was just personal choice, don't you have a personal choice? And if you don't, why aren't you fighting for it? Pretty simple. And I mean your personal choice, not the personal choices of other people, not how you want me to live or how you want your son or daughter to live. I'm talking about your personal freedoms, your personal choices, and how you live your life. Start there. Because perhaps you're so hyper-focused on everyone else's personal freedoms because you've bought in to a facade that you actually do not live free. That you actually don't want to be working where you work and doing what you do and be married to who you're married to, and to wake up every day and wear a brown t-shirt and khakis. Maybe secretly you want to wear a pink wig and a hot pink jumpsuit with platform shoes. Maybe you're repressed. Maybe you're repressed because most people are. Most people are terrified of being rejected. They're terrified of expressing themselves, and because they feel they can't, and because they don't, they project their control and their hatred on the rest of the world. And that's all I have to say in this video. I just wanted to share all these personal stories with you and share these different facts. And feel free to do your own research and leave comments. And please subscribe if you like my videos and you'd like to get in on some of this constructive social commentary. And I want you to take care of yourselves, and most of all, please take care of each other today, because if we're not treating each other with kindness and respect at the post office and the grocery store, then what the hell matters?